Hey everybody, this is Brian from QuantaCRM. Now we're going to watch Mariam show us how to assign tasks to your sales team so you can turbocharge your call campaigns with Dynamics 365 CRM.
Thanks, Brian. Now that you've imported data inside of the leads entity or whichever entity you've imported into, you can actually perform actions against those leads. So if you're importing, for example, for your sales team, you can then create a quick campaign in order to assign a task to your sales team members in order to reach out to those leads in the system. So I'm looking at my lead list right now, and I can either cherry pick or I can select all my leads here, and I can either assign those to users the regular functionality that you're used to. What we're going to look at now is actually creating a quick campaign. A quick campaign is just a quick way to perform an action that's, I guess, marketing related against the records that you're looking at. So I click on quick campaign here, and I can choose which records I'm going to create the campaign for, which would be the selected records, or all records in the current page, or all records on all pages if you have a lot of data here. So I'll just use for selected records, and that brings me to a wizard for creating the quick campaign. So generally when you're importing your leads into the system, it might be as a result of something, and you can always make that name of the campaign something meaningful. We'll just call this the winter import. So I'm going to give this a name, winter import 2017, and click next. And what kind of activity do I want to assign to the team? So I can select from different options here. I could set them up and say to make a phone call to all the leads in the system. Really depending on the integrity and the type of data that you've imported, you can make that decision. I think a phone call would be a great idea, a good place to start. Another popular option is to do an email, send an email to those records. So we'll choose phone call, and then you can select to whom you're assigning the activity. So if you're creating this for yourself, and that might very well happen, I can import a list of leads for myself into the system, and then I want to create a task so I don't forget, and I have it on my radar to reach out to all of those leads. That's a good way to do it. So I could select myself as me here and assign these activities to, or I can do the owners of the records. And what that is if I've imported the leads into the system and I had an owner column, for example, that set the owner to the proper sales team member, then I could then say, rely on the owner field and then assign the task to the owners. Or you can assign to another user or team. So you have different options here. I'm actually just going to select me for this example so we can take a look and see what happens. Of course, you can choose any of these options there. And you also have the option to add the created activities to a queue and then select the queue. And then you have the final option here, select whether email activities should be closed. If you did an email activity and you wanted those to actually close out and not show as open, then you would want to select that option. I'm not doing that, so I'm going to click next here. And this will actually bring me to that phone call that I wanted to create before. So I want to put in the subject of the call, reach out to see what their needs may be. And it's actually going to, the call from and the call to will automatically fill in. So will the phone number, and I can put a description. Perhaps I want to give myself a reminder to mention something. I can put in, remember to mention promo for new customers at 10% off. Okay, and I have other options here as well. I can make it regarding something or set the duration. And actually what the regarding will be set to is the quick campaign itself for those records. So this is the final screen before I create the activities. I can view it and review, make sure everything's okay, or I can go back and modify the information on the quick campaign itself. So the name is winter import, activity is phone call. We're making 17 activities in the system, and the owner will be me, and that all looks correct. So I'll click create. So rather than have to go into each one of those leads one at a time and create that phone call, I've actually created all in one fell swoop. And of course I can see those activities if I go to my activities list or look at my dashboard, for example, where I have my activities in one of the views. And you can see that it's created all 17 of those phone calls for me right here, and I can then work through those. And if you'll notice, the regarding is set to the name of the quick campaign, so then I can tie back any further interactions that I have back to that quick campaign to see if it was effective and report on it later.